All right. Well, thank you, Mariana, for joining us. This is the last day of Wikimania in Nairobi. I'm so glad to be here and to see that everything is going so well. Um, yeah, I mean, everyone knows you, but maybe you can just give a little bit of an introduction of
Sure,
like who you, like what your background is, but also like
sure.
how long have you been with Wikimania now?
Yeah. Um, it feels like many more years than it has, but I would say roughly 4.5, because I began my journey with the Wikimedia movement almost 4 months before I formally joined the foundation, which was in January of 2022. Prior to that, I had spent almost a decade as the CEO of a youth employment accelerator based in South Africa. And prior to that, had worked in both the NGO sector and the private sector, and trained as a lawyer in the United States. But I was born in Egypt, and so being back on the African continent, even for Wikimania, is like a circle back home.
So I think you're the first CEO at the Wikimedia Foundation that was not from the US.
I mean, I have many identity markers.
Right.
Born in Egypt, I grew up in the US,
All
and
right.
in the context of the foundation, I am a US employee, but I have my home in South Africa as well as in the US. But I spend a lot of time in the US, yeah.
Yeah, I really like the foundation has shifted so much over the years with being more and more remote to begin with, which is really exciting to see what's happening. Anyway, I see our audience is coming online, so that is great. Yeah, we're talking with Mariana, and we're doing an extended Q&A. So this is your chance to ask more questions.
Ask anything,
We'll take them
definitely.
from the chat. We have them on Etherpad as well, so you can
Fantastic.
focus them as you want.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I have some questions prepared, so we just can
Great, we'll get started. Yeah.
If we just look back at this Wikimania, like how did you experience the conference? What first of all, what does Wikimania look like from your perspective? Like, do you sit in sessions all the time? Are you running around in meetings? Like,
Well, this Wikimania has been a delight because I now, 4 years in, I know many of the people that are here. I was thinking back, this is my third in-person Wikimania, my fifth total Wikimania, because I participated virtually in both 21 and 22. I do attend sessions. In the case of my time in Nairobi, I also had a really positive meeting with the Kenyan ICT minister, who I would say by the time we left the meeting is an enormous champion of Wikipedia. And it was really a chance for him to understand the importance of the work that our volunteers do to add content in local languages. Because for a lot of people concerned about AI and how large language models are going to change the internet, I think a lot of folks are really understanding that for many languages, Wikipedia is going to be like the largest corpus of information online in their language. And so he had a chance to hear from local volunteers who edit in Swahili and other languages, and he just got it. And so that was like such a treat of being in Nairobi and a chance to, as I said, just like keep building Wikipedia and Wikimedia fans in governments where we can make friends who have common cause and believe in our principles.
That's wonderful. Are these meetings easier because Wikimania is here?
100%, because it's a chance, obviously, to tell stakeholders, we've gathered our global community in your city. There are people here from all over the world that are learning about your culture and learning about your language and learning about your city. And so I think the opportunity to use Wikimania as a chance, frankly, to build visibility and to add new champions. And one of the things that has been a feature of most Wikimanias, and certainly has been the case here, is like people can invite local partners. Again, if you're an organization that's working with the Kenyan user group, and now all of a sudden you can come to the space and see hundreds and hundreds of people from all over the world, it's pretty exciting. Yeah, so that's been a really fun feature of Wikimania for me this year.
That's lovely. And I'm assuming you have a lot of these hallway conversations. That's always my favorite part of Wikimania.
Absolutely. Just catch, and again, it's easier when you know people, and so that's why I think for folks who get a chance to come to Wikimania. But I've been thinking about it because obviously it's such a treat and a privilege for us to be here in person and to create an experience, obviously, for those of you online. But creating other spaces in the movement where people can gather in person is really important. And so I know regional events and thematic events, and even just getting people together who are interested in similar topics, because I think the human to human connection of being in the hallways, solving problems more easily, putting a face to a username of somebody that you've interacted with online. So even in my case, I've had people who've left comments on my talk page and I've never met them, and all of a sudden there they are in the hallway, and it's like it's like so much fun to meet them in person.
I mean, you can of course not disclose any one-on-one conversations, but anything that jumps out to you, like, oh, this was such a wonderful experience.
Yeah. No, I mean, my time here in the hallway conversations, honestly, is to like listen and learn. So sometimes I have a sense of issues that might be happening in a particular community or somebody that I've interacted with, but it's been a while. And so I try to use the hallway conversations kind of to take a pulse, see what's on people's minds. I'm proud to say that I think this has been a pretty drama-free Wkimania, which is something that has given us a chance to really just focus on the work and focus on both the threats and the opportunities that I think we're seeing, in many parts of the world. And so the hallway conversations for me are almost like a little bit of a pulse check survey on sort of how everybody's doing. And the energy here has been incredibly positive and really, really motivating for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure if people can pick this up from the background sound, but we hear like this constant buzz.
Yeah, it's like the place is buzzing. Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't think people know where we are. So we're right in the second floor of the trademark, which is like there's all these hallways around us. We're hearing people walk by. We're just seeing people running. We're just hearing all the chatter. It's
amazing.
We're right in the middle of the beating heart of the conference. That's really great.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good experience. So what I really liked here is also there's so much more of an East African community that's present than we usually see at Wkimania.
Yeah.
Anything that jumped out, like any lessons you learned about the East African communities?
So, I mean, coming into this role at Wikimedia, I had previously worked in this region in East Africa. And one of the things, as I was reflecting earlier, is we hosted Wiki and Daba, which is the regional gathering of our volunteers from Africa in East Africa 2 years ago. And so that was a chance for me to get to know the volunteers in this region more in depth and understand not only the challenges that they had, but honestly how collaborative they are, working across so many different countries and languages. And so I think for me, this Wikimania is, not dissimilar to what I would say we saw in ECF in Singapore, is a chance for a region that maybe doesn't do everything together on a day-to-day basis, really to pull together and ensure that this is a global experience that can teach the rest of our global community about a place, And I would argue, I mean, you can tell me if it's true for you, people are going to leave here with a more flavor of what East Africa is, more flavor for what Nairobi is, more flavor for, I think, just the booming kind of growth in this part of the world. And so that has to be one of the upsides, of making these gatherings come together. So, yeah.
I think that the energy of the communities here is really interesting because it's, as you know, like Wikimedia has been in an exponential growth for quite a few years, but then it kind of slowed down,
plateaued. Yeah,
I think we still in these areas and these languages really we still have a lot of opportunity for growth.
Yeah, smaller numbers, faster rate of growth.
Exactly.
And so that's what you want to try to encourage, is to keep those growth rates. And I think as you know, there are thousands of languages, not just hundreds, on the African continent, and so language preservation and telling untold stories in the Wikipedia way and adding content in different languages, those are all important priorities for this region and should be for all of us.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. Is there anything else you learned from the conference in the sense of like, I mean, you've seen so many conversations.
Yeah, well,
you picked up?
I'm gonna get the name of the gadget wrong, so I want to be very careful. But I learned that at the hackathon, there were 2 tools that were done in South Africa. There are many official languages, and I think that they made the gadget available in 9 South African languages.
Wow.
Which is like pretty cool. And again, that's the value of people like coding together and being together and like, reducing the barriers of having to get on calls and time zones. And, sometimes we move more slowly because we're moving across many, many time zones. And so the value of everybody just literally being in a room together is you can take something from concept to code
so much faster
in an afternoon,
right.
And then there it is, and it's sort of done. So I have learned a lot of sort of cool things that are the value of people just, gathering and being able to work together on common problems.
Yeah, that is, and that is indeed like what you mentioned earlier, like the languages are collaborating so much more to begin with.
Definitely.
I think we definitely, as a language that has been around for so, like I'm from the Dutch Wikipedia
Yes.
primarily, and we're a little bit more isolated in that sense, like because we have each other already. We're already big enough to go to a critical mass.
Yes.
And getting to a critical mass is so tricky.
Yeah, but I don't know the exact journey of the Dutch Wikipedia, but relationships, people mentoring each other,
right.
being welcoming, of newcomers. I think like the formula for how to grow communities, we know because we've been at it for 25 years. And the question is how to hold on to the things that have led to some of these larger communities having success, and then contextualizing them to a local environment. Like, what does mentorship look like here? And how does welcoming, signs and signals that people should feel like this is a place newcomers can come? I don't think we have to like find necessarily a ton of new solutions. We just have to keep holding on to the things that have been working well and modernizing them, I think for today.
Yeah, I do feel like I do always have the feeling like actually we do have to reinvent some things, because a lot of our solutions are basically were designed in 2005, 2010, 2015. And just by the sheer youth of this community, of these communities here, I think they do require sometimes just a little bit of an adaptation.
Listen, I think probably like some of the technology could evolve.
Sure.
I think the human traits of being nice to people, I think those are going to stick around for a long time. And what I have observed, and I learned it on one of the pre-conference sessions, is like how important mentorship is for people to see themselves growing into bigger roles in Wikimedia communities. And I think my experience with our African volunteers is they are hungry for that too. You know what I mean? So agreed, I would say some features of our world need modernization, but I think the like basic human instinct to be kind and warm and welcoming, we got to hang on to and make sure that we grow and never lose sight of.
Right. I'm getting the first questions.
Yes,
so
of course.
It's like the audience is engaging more, and that's great. I think one of the first questions, it's a little bit related to like how countries can be so different.
Yeah.
They're asking like what the plans or the foundation are with regards to communities that are based in countries that are blocking Wikimedia projects, that are kind of like hindering the way that the community can do its business, do its work.
Yeah.
What is the stance of the foundation? What are you doing to make that happen? Like, I'm assuming there's lots of different aspects to that.
Yeah, I mean, you know better than me that people edit Wikipedia from every single place on Earth, including places where Wikipedia is officially blocked. And so I think there's also just like trying to understand how to support people who are engaging in community activities, even in not many, a very small number of countries where, at the level of the government, there are blocks and challenges. I think that in those places, the foundation's most focused on safety and making sure that people who want to participate feel that they can and feel that they can do so safely. And then similar to the goals of this event, how do you connect volunteers in those environments to people that they can learn from, that can support them? There's a lot of things the foundation honestly is not best placed to do. Our job is to help connect other people to folks who might be in their circumstances and be able to do that. And then of course, on top of that, where we can, we have a critical job to advocate for the unblocking and the free flow of information across as many societies in the world, which we've had success in countries where in the past, Turkey is a good example. It took some time. You'll remember we were blocked in Pakistan for a weekend.
Yeah.
That wasn't that long ago, actually. And so trying to just also do our job of making sure that folks at all levels of government understand why this is such a ubiquitous thing and it's pretty hard to turn off.
Right.
So
I think it's also interesting to maybe talk at the mirror image of that, where the community is blocking a lot of countries effectively by basically blocking whole ranges of IP addresses because we're just unable to really be specific about like
Yeah.
who we're blocking.
Yes.
We had very limited range.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit with Selena about
Yes.
this
She told me.
yesterday.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about that shift between like going from this very big
Yeah.
blunt tool that we had as a community towards like how much of this is a priority in the mind of the foundation to invest in this kind of
I
directions?
mean, I would say, having spent a lot of time with our African volunteers since the time that I started, they've been pretty consistent that this is a really big challenge for them. People say, what are the different priorities of the regions? I'm like, in some cases, they're pretty consistent year in and year out. They're like, we need to find a solution. But to your point, it's not entirely in the hands of the foundation. And so the job we have to do is help everybody see the impact of these decisions. And I mean, I was told that even here, when people were trying to do an edit, so when people experience it firsthand and when people can see what happens, and then we need creative solutions from the people that can help implement those solutions. But I want to give credit. I actually think to the African volunteers, they have put this issue very high on the radar screen for all of us. And now I think we really have an obligation to like put our heads together and be problem solvers.
Yeah, I think the community, like we sometimes the Wikipedia community can be a little bit conservative.
No,
I know it's a big surprise.
That's like a big surprise.
But I think we really have to get to step over our shadows and understand like the times are changing.
Yeah.
We're no longer just in the same kind of environment as 20 years ago.
No, I agree.
People are no longer always on their same home address, and the world works
well,
differently
and frankly,
in Africa.
Yes, I mean it's a very mobile, on the move, societies. All I would say about that, and I know Selena has made this a big part of her messaging also at Wkimania, is we have to find ways to not be afraid to experiment, because if we can learn how to try things knowing what the guardrails are, maybe folks who are, conservative and with the best intent, they want to like protect things, they want to make sure nothing breaks. But I think what she's really trying to say to the communities is if we don't learn how to have faster experimentation, and then if something doesn't work, it's fine. 2 weeks later we stop. People have to believe that that's true. And so I think if those of you who really can help with that part of it is how do we create more fearlessness to experiment and prove that an experiment is an experiment. If it doesn't work, we're not going to do it, and we're going to move on, or we're going to put things back the way they were. I think for our community where people do hold on to a lot of things from the past, that is my sense of just a pragmatic way to try to drive some positive change, including learning about environments like this where honestly nobody's on a desktop all day in the same place. That's just not the nature of societies, certainly of young people here and in this region.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely, as a movement, because we've created something so valuable, it really becomes easy to sometimes get protective of it, and that is just so tricky because we need these new people
for sure. Because we also can't hold on to it and then we all die with it. You know what I mean? We have to like find a way to make sure to breathe new life into it for the future. Yeah.
I think that also taps in like the other big shift that we're seeing like with AI. Like AI is really changing the way that we experience our world and the world experiences us.
Yeah.
Do you hear a lot about that, like in your communications with other people? Like do people still know us as Wikipedia, or do they know us more as like, oh, that is that website that informs my my chatbot?
Yeah. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that I don't talk about or hear about or have a conversation about AI. Technologists and like futurists, I think, have named this as like a pretty fundamental shift in the history of the internet. And so I think we can't minimize how much AI is changing a lot of things around us. I think having said that, I trust the collective wisdom of our volunteer communities to know when even fast changing technology around us, like what is the impact going to be? And we don't behave rash. This is not a place that, so I think it's holding on to sensibilities that have served us well in the past, but not underestimating, I think, the magnitude of this change versus other kinds of, Siri came out, Alexa came out. Everybody said that was the end of Wikipedia. It wasn't. And so I think trying to stick to principles around transparency, attribution, sustainability. But I started conversations with people here at Wkimania to also say there's so much routine admin work that volunteers are doing, and I'm just curious whether we are being smart about how to use AI to make that burden less, so that they have more time for the more important work. And so that's going to be an ongoing journey. And as you saw, and those of you online who maybe tapped into it, there was a really powerful presentation on AI yesterday, a big keynote, that I think is making sure that those conversations are going to be in this space and all the other gatherings that we have.
I think the same way we shouldn't be afraid of new contributors, maybe we should also not be afraid to experiment with AI and to use it to advance our mission.
We have to. And again, that's the value of a community like this is you can try different things in different places. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You can learn fast. Like this is a place you can learn fast because maybe the Swahili community does one AI experiment and the Dutch community does another AI experiment. And in 2 weeks' time, you have, the outputs of 2 experiments, not one. So taking advantage of people who want to raise their hands to try these things, I think is going to be important.
Yeah. And I mean, to be clear, we're always talking about like using AI to help editors, right? We're not going to replace our editors like certain other platforms are doing.
No, I mean, humans in the loop is like, for me, kind of a non-negotiable principle of our movement. Yeah.
I think another issue that came up in the chat was like asking questions about like how is the other one which is related. The other issue that's related to like AI is also like how do we deal with our climate resources? How do we deal with like energy dependence? Do you see that one of the questions that came up is like, what do you see as the role of the Wikimedia Foundation in this, both in the debate, I imagine, but also with regards to like facts and knowledge, but also in the sense of like, how does the Wikimedia Foundation see climate as like something that they have to be cognizant of in their own behavior?
So I would say that my sense is that this is a shared value in the foundation and amongst our communities. And we have many users, groups, and projects that have taken the issue of climate as an important part of adding content. I would say, because it's been a narrow question around the foundation itself, is I think we have to be realistic about how small the foundation is in this game. And so what we have the power to do is use our voice, because Wikipedia has, in my view, a very loud voice for a very small organization, and to be able to use it to talk about the values and principles that sort of matter to us. I would say that on the basis of our hardware and infrastructure, we're really very small, and we have to face into like what power we have to change things in terms of purchasing. And so what the teams who have been thinking a lot about these issues have been focused on is, again, how do we use our very loud megaphone, because the world listens to us, in places where that's really the most powerful tool that we have. And I think climate is a good example of that.
Yeah. If we're talking about that size of the megaphone, could maybe not all community members always appreciate like how different our resources are compared to similar big megaphones? Like, could you contextualize that a bit?
I can't even begin to, like, I mean, if you look at, we're like, what are we? We're like one of the top 10 most trafficked websites, and the others include Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. And when you look at the budgets of those kinds of organizations, it's not even in order of magnitude. It's not even an order of magnitude the same. And so I do think one of the challenges we often have as a movement is like, our resources are really constrained compared to a lot of these other organizations. And so we have to, certainly at the foundation, I feel like we have to get things right, because we have one person that does the job of 40 people, like the most concrete example I can give you, which maybe helps folks online kind of get this, is when the Digital Services Act was passed in the European Union. It's a very big piece of legislation. It has an audit requirement. And Facebook issued a blog post that they had 2,000 lawyers working on their DSA compliance. We had 6, and none of them were even full-time. You know what I mean? It was like the legal team plus some outside help. And then we ended up with like the best audit score, partly because of our model and all of its features. And so I do think like people keeping in mind, just we have so much influence in having a loud voice because of our traffic numbers, but in reality our resources are much less than any of these other platforms. And I think for me, it means we have to work more carefully. We have to prioritize, which I know is sometimes a hard conversation when lots of people want lots of things. And we have to be honest with each other, what we have, how to use our voice and how to use other assets and resources that we have. I hope that helps.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
Yeah. And then we're gonna have to go to the closing soon.
Yeah, I think we're almost done.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, but I think there was one. Yeah, I think if there's what is it that you will take away from this Wikimania? Just like something that you want. Oh, this is such a.
Yeah, I mean, it has been so powerful being in again, my experience with the Wikimania in Singapore 2 years ago is like gathering Wikimedians in new and different parts of this big world that we live in is going to be so important for creating like common experiences that can help us like solve problems like the IP blogging, because people are in a place and they get to see firsthand what life is like. I mean, I know we're mostly in a conference venue, but people have had an opportunity to get out and get a sense of this region. And so I just, I know that this is a high growth region for our work. And if more people, as a result of coming to Wikimania, can see the value of that and pitch in to help, whether it's mentoring, whether it's working on tools that benefit the communities that are here, whether it's honestly just being an ambassador for a global movement because you've had some sense of it. I mean, for me, those are the things that I'm going to take away.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Maria.
It's a pleasure. I love talking to you, and I'm happy to do it at any time.
Well, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to the closing ceremony.
Yes, me too.
We're going to have some more presentations for like what Wikimania next year will look like.
Which is a big deal. Wikimania next year. It's a big deal. So thank you for hosting me.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, and I'll see you.
I'll see you there.
I'll see you on stage.
Take care. Thank you all.
Okay. Ayo, thank you for joining this episode of English Pal.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah, so basically, we want to discuss. We are having Wikimania. We want to discuss what your experience is. That's from the beginning to the end of the Wikimania. What has been your experience so far from the pre-session till now?
Wikimania this year, I think has been personally, it's like my most favorite Wikimania that I've attended. I've attended three Wikimanias with this making three, so this is
Okay.
like my most favorite. Like,
Is it because it's an African thing,
yeah.
or it's an African experience, or it's just because it's just that you are this is something that you are feeling?
Okay, so I think for me, first I have to be biased because
Okay.
it's an African. The fact that
Okay.
this is the very first conference I am attending on African soil. So the fact that it's in Africa, there's a lot of excitement already.
Okay.
But beyond just being on African soil, I think most importantly is the quality of program. Of course, it can be an assumption, and I might be wrong, but I feel that the quality of programs that we have in this year, Wikimania, are so great. Like, they were awesome. It was difficult to choose one program for another. It was it was really, really
You are
difficult.
not the one saying this. There are a lot of participants that were also saying that there were a lot of programs to select from, and as in they don't even attend everything. They move to another one just to have the experience.
Like it was so sometimes it looks like one is depriving yourself where you just leave one program, go to another program. But in all, I think it's been an amazing conference. So for me, from the very the moment for me started from the pre-conference. So
Okay.
from the pre-conference, I was part of the global advocacy session, and for me, this is really very important for us and for me personally in Nigeria because a lot of the work that we do is out of just editing. We're more or less doing public advocacy work. So that session was very, very nice, being anchored by Zuski and then Kyle of South Africa. It showed different ways in which we can come about global advocacy, which I think is really very phenomenal. So from there, I'm like, hey, we've not started Wikimania, and then we're already having this kind of amazing session.
Yeah,
So,
so just interject a bit.
no problem.
Talking about the advocacy part, I think you really cry for that aspect because you are one person that usually look at the policy aspect. I think
Yeah.
you've outgrown like the editing aspect of the ecosystem. You kind of want to focus on policies, things that
Yeah.
speak to the law of the whole, like in terms of governance and everything within the ecosystem. I think that's where your focus is,
Yeah.
because the edits, that one, we have people that can buy your focus. I think last time you gave a session and it really had an impact upon me, and I think just go on. I think I was just inspired by the session, so
Thank you
yeah.
very much. Yeah, that's the truth. The truth is, everybody that knows me knows that my real strength or my real passion, it's actually around advocacy and around community health. So that's really where my real passion is. Editing, fantastic, it works, but I think beyond the editing, how do we build a community together? And it's only when you can build a community that's when you can do the right advocacy. Advocacy is not about a single person.
Yeah.
If you stand alone, there's less to nothing you can advocate for. But when there's a community, then it's easier for you to go to the government and say, government, this that you have done is affecting us as free knowledge enthusiasts or free knowledge volunteers. So please, can you please work around it or just scrap it? But if it's just only you, they won't answer you. But if we come as a community, then you would have audience. So that is why I'm so passionate about community, which give rise to advocacy and then governance structure. So the first, of course, the pre-conference, that was like my first session, and I was really, really, really blessed by it. Like, it was really good for me. And then, of course, went to the first day of the conference, and it was
That
really,
was very
really,
massive.
yeah, it was massive.
Because for me, I was really really expecting some good engagement during the first day. Actually, to be honest, this is my first ever Wikimania ever since I joined the
Amazing,
ecosystem.
amazing.
And coming make Africa being my first, it's something
Yeah,
cool.
it
Yeah.
is. It's something.
And I don't know whether maybe this might be my last.
I had to come here last.
Whether
It can
this,
be your
but I'm
last,
just hoping that probably I might get other opportunities to be in future Wikimedia
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
But just jumping to the conference. After the pre-conference, I think I was looking forward to a wonderful engagement during the main conference itself. I really enjoyed the first day because I just listened to some sessions during the first day.
Yeah.
One relevant session per se, I can't really remember the name though, because I was in the booth working with the team on
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
But you can also share yours as well.
Listen, yeah. You know, the thing is, because you all working behind the scene, and I was telling one of the suits, I was like, oh, you guys are the real MVP. When conferences like this have been organized, the most people that are most deprived are actually the organizers, you know, because they are trying to think, we want to organize this. And so most times they don't feel the real lessons or the real education
I
from the
was saying that after
conference.
that I have to go and watch a video.
Yeah,
Because
most
I've
times.
missed out on most of the stuff.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So you guys are the real MVP. So kudos to every member of the COT and all organizers. Okay, so back to the first day. So I think the first day for me started on a very good note. The very first session I attended, which was really very good, was a session around library. I'm not a librarian, but I enjoyed the session because it talks about Africa. It's a session that talks about how do Africans, how do we position ourselves when it comes to API within the library system. So how do we connect information from various libraries around the world in Africa? How does it link into the Wikimedia API ecosystem? How do we ensure that we have a strong footnote in Africa? And that's strong is very important for me, anchored by Dr. Nkem, and then you had some other professionals in there. So it clearly showed the need. And so after the end of that session, it kind of generates a new passion in me to go back and then see how I can develop more process of how we can, see how we can sync the process between the library and itself and the Wikimedia world. So that was like the start for me. And so that first day, I think I had another session. I had a session that
that's your own personal
Yeah, my
session.
personal
Was
session.
it the one that you were quickly? I saw you running, or that was not it? Because I saw you running. You were saying that you're having a session. Your time is far gone. So you were like, I saw it coming from the end there. So I don't know whether that was it or
I don't know.
I don't know whether if I remember or not. But yeah, you were kind of in a haste.
Yes,
Yeah.
maybe I've had these sessions. So yeah, I've had these sessions that I presented at Hancock. So I'm not sure which of the exact one.
Okay. Because all of them you were
Yeah. Most time I'm always like, oh, I need to run. And sometimes there are times where I'm running and I'm even running not because of my session, because I need to go and attend somebody's session because I don't want to miss it, because all of the sessions are with jam-packed. So I'm not sure. I think it might probably be the one I'm running. It might actually be my session, but I'm not sure.
It was your session.
Yeah. I think it is. I think it is.
You're having a session because we wanted to. That's when we wanted to bring you here.
Oh yes. I remember now.
Earlier on,
I remember,
so that we can have the discussion. But I said we are having a session.
Now.
So you were
yes. It was actually my session. It was actually the first one I did, and the session was really very important for me because it was a session around, as I said, I'm really passionate about community. So it was a session that speaks into the hearts of community. It was an experiment. Also, it's an experiment that we started in Nigeria, and then we see, okay, can we make a success about this? And then we achieved so much success in the last 3 years. So I felt it's something that we can now share in the global Wikimania for other affiliates that might want to replicate. And the session was just focused on grants, how can other affiliates, have a micro grants, and how do you go around the micro grants? What is the need for the micro grants? What are the lessons? What are the advantages? And how can other affiliates, replicate it? Because this is something I facilitated in Nigeria in the last 3 years. It's okay, let's work around the grant, and I led the whole process to let's do a micro grant so that we can give grants to various individuals. And it's a success entirely so because so far I've been able to fund over 300, various projects that we funded in the last 3 years.
Because you guys, I feel that always if Nigerians are doing much huge projects like that, because look at the number 300. I feel that because you guys have the numbers, that's why it's always like that. I could be wrong, though, but it based, maybe you have matrices and data there, so probably you can maybe debunk what I'm seeing, or probably it could be another thing.
Yes. So yeah, I totally agree. We have the numbers, and that's an advantage. But I think it's also beyond the numbers, because you can also have the numbers and not have the quality. So it's sometimes quantity is not always the same thing with quality. We have the numbers, but if we're not careful, it's just going to be, the numbers are just going to be for documentation purpose or just for paperwork. So as much as we have the numbers, we're also trying as much as possible that we have the right quality. And that is why for the micro grant I mentioned, it wasn't just about just giving people grants. They were more of like, okay, are you really sure you're able to do this? What can you do with $200? What can you do with $300? And we see a lot of people, showing their rights here nature and then be able to work around it. So that's how my second day, ran, trying to.
Yeah, but so what areas were you looking at in terms of the micro grants?
So yeah, we give micro
because
grants.
It's all part of what you discussed in your session.
Yes. So Micro grants itself, as I said, we started micro grants in Nigeria in 2022. And so far, we've been able to fund over 300 persons. And one of the things that
That's
we
from
look out for
2022 to
2025. So, yeah, so over 300,
Great.
exactly 314. That's the numbers. Yeah, that's so let's say average of 100 in a year.
Okay.
You know, so but one of the things that we look out for is that we look at the quality of the project. So the project can vary around Wikipedia can vary about Wikidata, Wikimedia Commons. But one of the things that we've learned over time with the micro grants is it's not just about editing alone. It's not just about what are you doing. There are a lot of other micro grants that we funded that was around advocacy, that was around awareness, like awareness in the sense that people will say, oh, I want to do a vox pop. I want to go on the streets of Lagos. I want to go on the streets of Abuja, and I want to do an awareness for people to know that you can edit Wikipedia. That does not require people to edit, but it's a way of awareness. It's a way of, placing the brand of Wikimedia in Nigeria. And there are persons that say, okay, I have the skit makers that I want to work with, If I work with them, we will do a small skit and they will just talk about, do you know, guys, you can edit Wikipedia. And then we had some, so what I'm just trying to say here is that a lot of the micro grants were not entirely on just editing, somewhere an awareness. And because of that, we've had a lot of influx of people saying, yeah, I want to know how to edit Wikipedia too. And we've had to do trainings for all of those people.
I think great, not going much into edit as well. But have you also looked at, this enabling some of the community members to ensure that they can get this user rights, like your area, because that's where you also look at, like that kind of rights, watch, like as in administrator, like those kind of things, because that's where you also, like, I know most of the communities are also from Ghana, we do struggle from that as well. We don't have a lot of administrators, like as in those kind of governors. I don't know whether some also went there. And also, just to add on another question, are you also looking at also extension, that extending some of your grants to other communities as well, or basically it's for only Nigerians?
Okay,
that's for the future.
Yeah. So for the future, maybe we can, because we've seen situations where maybe when we become a chapter, we can do a situation where there's a chapter in Europe and they're able to fund other communities in Africa. We've seen that situation. So I won't say we are streamlined only to our country, but for now, I think we're just majorly focusing on Nigeria because that's like our main focus. Maybe later in the future, when we're big enough, we can, start extending.
Open Foundation West Africa, when they do have some of their projects, I can't remember. In terms of a particular project, I can't really remember, but they do offer this micro grants within some of their projects. Then they also offer some to outside. That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, what Open Foundation as Open Foundation West Africa is, as its name implies, Open Foundation West Africa. So, so they have the liberty, but we are kind of Wikimedia Nigeria. So Nigeria is in our name.
I get the scenario, but you can really extend, because you guys are really big and really, like, the people behind the scenes are people that are kind of forecasted. So I feel that probably you guys could go beyond, like, Nigeria.
Okay. Very good.
But
I think it's something.
Maybe probably you can't. You would want to do one or two countries, or you could limit it. It depends on how you would want to go about it. Yeah, maybe you don't want to do all Africa, but probably you want to do an experiment to see how it works.
Okay. I will note that. I will think back and I will note that in the future of things that we can do. But you also mentioned something very, really, very important for me personally, and also for some of the things we do in Nigeria, which is the user rights understanding on Wiki, because I think that's something we've lacked.
No, because I kind of learned, like, you gave me that insight during my times at Code for Africa.
Yeah,
you gave it to. That's what I was saying. I was inspired by that. I don't know whether I even said it out, but like maybe you might forget or something of that sort. But that was really inspiring that time.
Thank you very much. So the user right thing, because it's something I feel that we lack a lot in Africa, where we lack a lot right now. We can't really pinpoint, even though we have some English Wikipedia admin from Africa, but we can't really pinpoint. We only have just, pockets of them, as case may be. So one of the things that we did in Nigeria, and I think different affiliates can also emulate, is that we started a program called WikiBoost. Wiki and then boost, like you boost yourself. So it's called WikiBoost program. So the idea is we focus on people that are already editing. So before you can be part of the WikiBoost for experienced people, for experienced users, you have to have a certain number of edits. So I think the edits we put there was about maybe on English Wikipedia. We actually focus on English Wikipedia. The edits was about, I'm not sure, I will confirm, but it was about 3,000 edits. So when you have like 2 to 3 thousand edits, then you are qualified, then you apply. So what the program is all about is that we take people through a detailed way of how you can do more on Wikipedia beyond just editing. A lot of people feel that Wikipedia is just all about editing, just all about creating articles, editing
Just to
articles.
interdict
Go.
before you can go for it. Don't lose your thoughts. Please. Don't lose your thoughts. In terms of the Wikibooks, there are some community members that might not be able to. I don't know whether maybe it's part of your blog, but that might not be able to, like go write articles. But they are good. You could see that they have the potential. They can't write full-fledged, but if you give them that kind of right, like as in doing those kind of rights, policies, those kind of, maybe that's where maybe their interest might lie. Maybe probably it might not be, you can't look at their
Edits counts, yeah.
their edit count. Maybe if you are giving them 1,000 or 2,000, I feel that maybe probably it's too much.
Take them off,
So I don't know. Maybe probably you still have to look at that, and because there are people that might even be even better
much
than
more interested.
Even much more interested, and even better than people that you feel that they are good editors and they have a number of edit count. Who knows? Because maybe their edits, they might not even be doing even quality edits, probably in quotes. Probably they might not be doing. So maybe you have to also look at it in that aspect as well. They're letting, like, having people that like are interested. Because some people, they might be interested but don't do any edit. Maybe once a while, then, but maybe they might find their way through this right administrators, those kind of things. That's where some people might find their, because that sometimes when you're editing, it should be a feeling. You can't just go. I mean, you need to know where your path. If you don't have your path, you can't. You can't. But there are more editors too that would want to have that administrative right as well.
Yeah, you're actually very right, because when you start putting caps like that, then you start taking some people off. You disenfranchise them over there. But there's also a challenge with that is certain user rights on the English Wikipedia are privileges. They are privileges, and before you can get some of those privileges, you must have shown some level of accountability. Yeah, you must have shown. You can't.
You are right.
On English Wikipedia, you've not edited more than 100 or 200, and you want to get a user right, it's not possible. So the reason why we put the 2,000 to 3,000 edit count is that we want to be sure anybody that is able to make up to that 3,000 edits, that means it shows some extent you are active. So now it shows that you can now be trained to get certain user rights that you're trusted, because those user rights, they are like power.
I think that you are also right in that, but I'm also thinking that because Nigeria User Group is doing this, and we have people behind the scenes, that's people running the organization, and you know that this person that doesn't have a lot of edits can be able to do it. You can send an appeal that, even though this person doesn't have, so that like they can, because at least there need to be some form of discussion to enable community members to do that, because you know that you are really sure, because it's not that he's going on his own, but he has some backing and some representatives, because there's more power, like I think there's more power if one or two of you guys go and represent and say, this guy doesn't have this number of edits, but we know that he can do it based on what we've seen over the years. I could be wrong though, but I feel that could also, because it's an organization that is speaking. It's not an individual.
Yeah, but when it comes to organization, has no say when it comes to the English Wikipedia written. It's just like even WMF, the Wikimedia Foundation, they do not have a say with the English Wikipedia running as much as possible. So it's actually, you can do that with your own language Wikipedia. You can run it. But when it comes to English Wikipedia, it's actually very complicated. So wherever you're presenting has to show that level of accountability. And the training, Wikibooks, I was saying, it wasn't like we'll just tell them to say, this person, make them an admin or give them this user right. No, what we're doing with our training is that we're training them. So it's like a 5-module training to show them what it means. How do you get user rights? A lot of people edit Wikipedia, and that's the truth. A lot of people have 5,000 edits, thousands of edits, but the only edits is just only from just editing articles, just writing articles, just creating articles. People do not participate in discussions, and I think that's also one of the things that we focus on Wikibooks, discussion. A lot of articles get deleted every single day in Africa, in Nigeria, and they got deleted because nobody participated in the article for deletion discussions. Nobody participated, so nobody to say please keep it and then give the right reasons.
Not only Nigeria, it's also reflecting in most of the African countries.
Yeah, so that Wikibooks is what we're trying to.
It shouldn't be only Nigeria that should be having that. Probably they could we can speak to each other to see how we can raise members within the community, so that it will be some form of inter-African
Yeah,
stuff, because
yeah.
that would be really be helpful.
Yeah.
So that if you know that, oh, this, then we go and support, because we are also facing the same challenge.
Yeah.
Because we all can't be on the wiki at the same time when we
Yes,
can.
of course.
Yeah, so
Of course.
at least we need to have
I
like
think-
that.
I think with that, maybe
It's an African thing.
yeah,
it's an
I think
African
we'll
issue
see
as
how
well.
we can make it Africa, because what we did with
Because
that
you
is that
guys are starting, and you
and
guys
we
need
started,
to-
and if you look at, because when I do something or when we get to do something, I want to see what is the result, if we achieve results. And if you look at when we started this Wiki Boost, look at the results we have. Since we started this Wiki Boost, because a lot of people that we train, it's not a training where just listen to the zone and then after all you go away. No, it's a training where it's compressive enough. So after one module, you go and do some learning. After what you maybe what was taught today was discussion basis. You go to the English Wikipedia and go and do it like an assessment. So if you don't do that, you'll be drop off. So at the end of the day, the few people that graduated from the first edition of Wikiboost, they are people that, yes, they've gone through the process.
Okay.
And so these people now become ambassadors for Nigerian articles. So if you look at part of the results is that you barely see a lot of articles from Nigeria getting deleted on Nigeria. You barely see it. It's really reduced because more people are participating in discussion. Now, from the training, a lot of people have gotten user rights. There's a lot of persons that, although we don't have any admin yet, of course, admin is a lot of work, but a lot of people now have auto-patroller user rights, and have referral user rights just because of that training. So maybe we can also take it ahead and say, okay, let's expand this to the whole of Africa. That's something also we can also do.
Probably you can
Because
speak to where I am, Ofua, and see how probably you guys can work collaboratively to see how far you can push this agenda, because it's something that you are starting, but you can speak with them. But if you feel that you don't speak to Ofua and probably want to talk to another community to see whether you can push this agenda, fine. It's also something
I think it's something we can.
yeah,
we
because
can-
it's really an African challenge
issue.
here.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's something we can, bring back and then see how we can expand it even much more further.
So we still continue with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were on your session.
Okay. So my session. So
Yeah.
of course, I said my session focused on the micro grants,
Yeah.
how to build a community, and it was really good for me because I had a lot of Wikimedia Foundation grant staff present, some like Chris Schilling, Willie, so it was really great because these are like foundation community resource team from the grant. So they were able to see some of the things that we're doing, and they were also able to ask questions for clarity. And after
But
the
they also
session,
learn and also implement whatever, because
Yes.
they also really want to understand what, because it's their field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because part of beyond even from the BUMF staff, we also had a lot of other people from different communities in Africa that were there. And after the session, when people asked questions, they were saying they also want to implement this. A lot of them have reached out, say they want to see how they can implement this in their country. And for us, that's, for me personally, that's one of the results. The essence of sharing this is not just we did something that was successful and then we heard it. It was successful. How can other African countries also emulate this, or even beyond Africa? And that's the idea. And I'm glad that he's able to achieve that one way or the other. So that's how like my day one went. Of course, and there were some other few sessions that I was able to also be part of. So for day two session, trying to remember, a lot of things happened on
If
day
you don't
two.
remember, you can just skip and maybe remember what you can remember during. Then we can come to the final day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of things happened on day two, day three, but I think one of the most important thing for day two was the fact that I was part of a lot of discussions, and discussions were focused on, of course, on Africa, but was focused on human rights, diversity. There was a topic of gender. There was a topic of LGBTQ.
Those things are your areas. That's where you really. That's where you really try. Yeah.
Yes. Those are like my really core area. So I was part of a lot of discussions around that, and we even still hosted I was part of a dinner that was hosted where we had the CEO of Wikimedia Foundation, Mariana, present. It was something centered on the LGBTQ advocacy and how we can have more Wikipedia articles about LGBTQ content in Africa as a right. And also I was part of the vote of gender reform session as well. So I think that's pretty well how my dates went. So the theory, which was yesterday, also had lots of bites, different things. And I think the session that actually stand out for me more in the theory was actually a session I attended by Asaf. And Asaf, showed different ways in which you can make Wikipedia more encompassing, show how you can teach people on how to use the WikiLearn platform. A lot of people.
Asaf, he's a teacher. He's the wiki teacher in the ecosystem.
Asaf
I really
is-
wanted to attend his session, but because I'm behind the scenes.
Yeah, you know what? You can always watch the
Yeah,
videos,
yeah.
to just catch up. It was a really very good session on WikiLearn, and the other one, and this is it. A lot of people do not know that they don't know how important and how useful and productive the WikiLearn platform is. WikiLearn platform is really good. It's a way you can introduce Wikipedia to so many people. So yeah, so it was able. So that was like my highlights. I think for the day, another highlight was actually the last one, which I actually enjoyed. Although it's not a Wikimedia thing per se, it was a karaoke.
Oh, you can talk about
It
that
was a
because
karaoke. It was really fun. The karaoke was really fun.
I think I missed that. Yeah, I think I was a bit tired, so I had to.
It started around in the evening, around
Yeah.
6 p.m. or
It
thereabouts.
was 6.
Yeah, I think it was around 6, 7 sharp.
Okay.
Because we didn't leave. I didn't leave the hall until maybe past 9 to
Okay.
9:30. So it was really down straight to that. But it was really, really, really very interesting. I enjoyed it. I, as a person, I run away from anything when it comes to music. I run away. But it was strange.
But
for me
were
to be
you able to partake
Yeah, I
in the...
did. Even though I murdered the song.
Yeah.
Like-
I'm sure maybe it might be some Afrobeat or...
Yeah, it was Afrobeat. It was a song from Nigeria that I had to choose. Style Plus by Olufumi by Style Plus, which is one of the...
Is he kind of popular? Because
Yeah, it's not more popular again like that. They used to be in the group.
Okay.
The song was actually 10 years old. It's 10 years since 2015. But they are popular then, but they're no more popular because they've disbanded. But that
Maybe
song,
I might know them.
Style Plus, yeah, it's like Olufumi.
Okay.
It's a very popular song then.
Okay.
Was it?
I really have seen that song.
Yeah, it was a very popular song then, but of course they are no more like that. I think it's me, Olufumi. Yeah,
like as in that song. When I hear that song, I do get goosebumps because it's like as in is it a Yoruba song or Igbo? Like as in it starts with some.
Yeah,
so
with the English.
Yeah, then also some English too. So
Yeah,
I think the sound and everything was perfect. I
Yeah.
really that song too, I also like it.
Yeah,
But I really don't know the one who sang it. But I hear that it's a Nigerian song, but I don't. Really
it's a popular Nigerian song.
Yeah.
It's like almost 10 years old, so
Yeah,
it's popular. It's evergreen, and
Yeah.
so I felt, what song will I do? And so there was no other song that came to mind than that. Even though I didn't sing it well, like I knew but I think that's really the most important thing for karaoke. It's not about you singing; it's just about you having fun, enjoying
entertaining,
it. And
yeah,
I think I enjoyed it. Yeah, so it was a good one for me. There were a lot of other persons that also sang beautiful songs. So
Okay.
it was a great one. I think that's like my highlights, for yesterday.
Okay,
for the
so
thing.
how about today? How was you
Yeah.
feeling like? Because today we are wrapping up, and sorry to steal part of your time because you need to be in there to listen to the final ceremony. Yeah, the closing ceremony. So how was your last day been like before we can finally head towards the
the thing about the closing day of every Wikimania, there's always a lot of mixed feelings, mixed emotions, and you be like, how come? Let's extend it. Is it over already?
Everybody's having that experience.
Yeah, it's mixed feeling. You also that you want to go back home, of course, you want to go back home, but there's also this mixed feeling like no, now let's stay. How will I? There's still a lot to and so it's a lot of mixed feeling. But I think for me, today was giving that mixed feeling. I was excited. I needed to go back home to Nigeria, and I was also to some extent felt like maybe we should have had more time again. Maybe we should have can we extend it, because there's a lot of one thing about Wikimania. Just like every other Wikimedia conference, it's not just about the learning. The learning is very important, but most importantly is a connection, networking. Speaking to people, making collaborations. They still have there's a lot to do. I still need to talk to this person. We need to talk to this person. And one of the things, as you can see during the opening ceremony, one of the things that Wikimania has been very successful with is that through Wikimania, a lot of beautiful emerging projects have emerged. Through Wikimania, there have been outstanding projects. It was through Wikimania we had the Glam Wiki project. It was through Wikimania we had the One Life on Rev. Very interesting projects that just started as a result of discussions in Wikimania. So Wikimania is always like a time for incubating ideas. So and this incubation starts from discussing with your colleague, discussing. So yeah, these are part of the mixed feelings. So, but for me,
one thing to that, you need to just get the one person who suits, because you might be talking to people.
To random people, of course.
You need to get someone who is kind of in sync with whatever you are presenting, so that you can move on.
Exactly. Yeah, it's important. Just know someone that clicks with you. and then you can work around that. So yeah, so what sessions? I attended a lot of sessions today because being the closing, and one of the sessions that stood out for me was a session handled by Natalie. That's the chair for the board of trustees for the UMF, and it was a session around the Wiki Loves Photography campaign. As someone that's have coordinated a lot of campaigns in Nigeria, I was really very interested in this session because I wanted to see what she had to share about their experience in Ukraine and what we can take. And it was really good. Like I was able to understand some few things of how to consistently bring new, how to bring more new photographers into your mail. So it was really good. And I think, yeah, that was like the main session. There were other sessions too I attended. I also enjoyed the session for the Wiki Games. It was good. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. There was one guy came for our session, the village pump. I don't know whether he's the one that led the games. It was
Mm,
like wiki games. There were some serious games that
yeah.
he was. I didn't even know. But I should have
Yeah.
to watch this video
Yeah.
again because I came in late and I saw him doing a lot of stuff in
Yeah.
terms of wiki games.
Wiki game
These
is
games
really
were
good. Like
like
it's
kind of
good, and it's a
yeah
way of bringing people to
yeah
the
yeah
Wikimedia world
yeah
because they are playing games, right?
yeah
They enjoy
playing
themselves,
themselves yeah.
but they're editing. So
Yeah.
that's interesting about Wiki games.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're playing games, you're enjoying yourself. Me, I am someone that like playing games. I love games. So, and I imagine I'm playing games and then I'm still editing, and then he's counting in my
Yeah,
contributions.
yeah.
That's interesting. So I think the Wiki Games thing is something that a lot of community leaders around the world, Africa, should emulate. They should find a way to see how they can bring it to their community to bring more people. It's also a way of getting a discount one way or the other. Yeah, so it was also one of the session, I attended as well. Yeah, so it's not like the thing, and that's so far the last 4 days, as I said, they've been a lot of session. I ensured I barely miss a session. I barely miss a session apart from the time where I needed to do meetings. I barely miss a session because for Wikimania, for me, I always want to ensure that I'm getting the right thing. I always want to ensure I soak it in because it's not an everyday conference. And so I don't want a situation where I come to Wikimania and then at the end, I can't be able to come to a compromise to say this is what I'm able to get from this Wikimania. So for me, all of the sessions put together, there are a lot of things that I'm taking back home to Nigeria to see how we can implement. There's a lot of new ideas, new suggestions in which I can put back to the community. There are newer innovations that I can put into advocacy work in Nigeria. So Wikimania 2025 for me has been explosive, has been incredible, has been wow. And, of course, all thanks to all of the organizers, someone like you behind the scene, sacrificing to be here while other sessions are going on. Shout out to people like you, shout out to the COT, and most importantly, shout out to the WMF
Yeah.
that is able to ensure the funding for this program exists when we, and of course, the
The
user
organizers,
group,
yeah,
the
the
user
main, what of
groups.
the main organizers too? That's
Yes.
Kenya.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The
Okay.
user group in
Okay.
Kenya. That's
Yeah.
the Wikimedia user group Kenya. Kudos to you and well done. Well done.
Ayo, thank you for joining this
Thank
episode
you
of
very
Village
much.
Pump. I
Thank
think
you.
it's an experience having you
Yeah.
on this episode, and we look forward to probably have another Village
In
Pump
Paris. Yeah, in
in
France.
Paris, France, or if you want to have one in Daba.
That's true. Yeah,
Because
yeah. We should take all of this to
Village
Indaba.
Pump is something that's new, and it started from here. Even though Village Pump is online, we do
Yeah, and
have
English
that thing here.
Wikipedia. Yes.
Yeah, so I think bringing it from the abstract level to real world activities, it's something okay. Yeah,
beautiful.
so I think we need to also push
Beautiful.
that agenda for Africa as well.
Yeah, it's necessary.
Yeah.
I totally
So
agree.
yeah, Ayo, thank you, and
Thank
let's
you
look
for
forward
having me. Thank you.
a wonderful engagement in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, and do have a great day. Thank you
Bye.
so much. Thank you. I'm still alive. Oh. I'm still live like that.
I have to end speed. So what you are doing,
Makes sense. This is nice. Like the fact that the new innovation is